Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Hayemi, Maseches Bava Kamma DAF Chaf Vav. We are holding on Chaf Hayim Beis, 4 lines off the bottom of the Amid. Okay, so in the Mishnah we had Rabbi Tarfon's Kal V'chomer, which proved, according to his opinion, that any damages resulting from shein v'regel, consumption or trampling, in a chatzar hanizak, in the victim's territory, would incur a payment of a nezek shalom, fully responsible, and it was based on a kal v'chomer. So now, on account of that kal v'chomer, the Gemara will now present several more possible kal v'chomers to actually, these kal v'chomers will actually be used to challenge halachas that we already know. So what are these established halachas, the givens? So one is that Keren in Rishus Rabin pays Chatzi Nezek. So aggressive behavior, if it's the first couple of times, Chatzi Nezek. Shein V'regel in Rishus Rabin is totally pater. Animal has a right to walk, to eat what he sees. You can't blame him for that. The Torah says you only chayiv in a chatzar hanizak. So Shein V'regel and chatzar hanizak is Nezek Shalom. In Rishus Rabin is pater. Here comes several kal v'chomers which will challenge these halachas. 4 lines from the bottom. Says the Gemara, "Tehei shein v'regel chay b'shus rabim mikal v'chomer." Let us obligate shein v'regel if they occur in the street, based on kal v'chomer, which is Uma keren sheb'shus hanizak eidem mishalom l'chatzi nezek. Keren action in rishus hanizak, if it's a shara tam, it's 50% chatzi nezek. So it has that downside. Still, Bishus Rabim Chayeves. If it occurs in the street, you pay the same Chatzi Nezek, but you pay nevertheless. Shein v'regel sheb'shus hanizak mishalom nezek shalom. Certainly shein v'regel, for which you're more responsible, even more than Keren, because if that happens in a chatzar hanizak, you pay fully nezek shalom. Of course, Einay Din doesn't lend it to reason sheb'shus Rabim Chayev. If it happens in the street, you totally have to pay, totally. Says the Gemara, you can't say that. Amar Kro, the Torah in describing the damages resulting from shein v'regel speaks about sadei acher, the nizaks, the victim's territory, not in the street. So you can't, suggest otherwise. Well, says the Gemara, it's not a contradiction to the pasuk. You're assuming that the pasuk is telling us to exempt shein v'regel in the street. Right? No. Midi kulei kamrinim. You think we're suggesting that shein v'regel in the street pay 100%? No. After all, we're learning it's based on Keren, right? If Keren is chayav, certainly shein v'regel. Well, palgal kamrinim, all we mean to say is pay 50%, like Keren pays 50%. And when the pasuk says, this is the punchline, says Rashi, when the pasuk says, ubir b'stei acher, pertaining to shein v'regel, it means to upgrade it, to add. In the street you pay 50%, but if b'stei acher, that's not your standard 50%. There you go up to 100%, full payment. So maybe Omakra, you can't suggest that shein v'regel is chayiv in the street. Pasuk says by the Keren situation, v'chatros kaspoy, you split his value, you pay half the damage. Kaspoy shal zeh. Chatzus kaspoy, only this fellow, only this animal who exhibited aggressive behavior pays in the street. V'loy kaspoy shel acher, but not pertaining to the value of the other animal. Basically, shein v'regel is not chayiv in the street. Okay. Next, v'loy tehei shein v'regel chayeves b'shus hanizak ela chatzi nezek mikal v'chomer. Perhaps if shein v'regel happen in the b'shus hanizak, you only pay 50%, not 100, 50%, based on kal v'chomer, which is like this. Mikal v'chomer mi Keren. It's based on Keren. Uma Keren sheb'shus Rabim Chayeves. Take a look at Keren. In the street, you pay, right? Still, despite the fact that it has that advantage, still b'shus hanizak eina mishalemet el chatzi nezek. If it happens even in the nizak's territory, you only pay 50%. Of course, we're speaking about a Keren Tama. So in the street you have to pay, but still if it's in Rishus HaNizak, you only pay 50%. Certainly, of course, Shein V'Regel. What happens to them in the street? Totally pater. Shebrishus Harabim Petura. So it has that downside, of course. It would have a downside in a Rishus HaNizak. It would be limited to 50% payment. Eino din, of course, Shebrishus HaNizak, Mishal Moni Chatzei Nezek. Amakron, no. Pasuk says by the Shein V'Regel, who chew up, this fellow's farm, Meitav Sadeu Yishal, you have to pay fully. Yishalim means Tashlum and Ma'aliyah, 100%, no discounts. Next question. Let's totally exempt Keren if it happens in the street, based on a Kal V'Chaymer. Uma Shein V'Regel. Take a look at Shein V'Regel. Shebrishus HaNizak, Nezek Shalom. If it happens in the Nizak's place, 100% payment. Still, despite the fact that it has that advantage, B'Rishus Rabim Petura. If it happens in the street, you pot. Certainly the Keren, Shebrishus HaNizak, you pay Chatzi Nezek. Doesn't it lend to reason, Eino din Shebrishus Rabim Petura? Right, it has a disadvantage. Even Rishus HaNizak, it's only 50%, much less than Shein V'Regel. Of course, it should have the same din as Shein V'Regel in the street, which is potter. Amar B'Yechon, you can't say that. Amakra, the pasuk in describing the Keren fellow paying his dues, Yechtzon. It says you split the value, and the word Yechtzon is extra. Ein Chatzi Nezek Choluk. We learn that this concept of paying 50% is irrespective of location. Loy B'Rishus Harabim, V'lo B'Rishus HaYachid, wherever it takes place, you pay the same 50%. There's no exemption. Okay, so we've established the halachas that Shein V'Regel is pot in the street. In Rishus HaNizak you pay 100%, and Keren is chayiv Chatzi Nezek in the street. Next question. What about kaifer, which is that monetary compensation paid to the family of a victim that was killed by a shur? Now that's something unique to a shur, an animal who kills a person. But if a person kills another person, so let's say it's not b'shogeg or b'mezid, because if it were so, then if it's b'mezid, he gets killed through bezdin, right? If it's b'shogeg, he goes to the city of refuge, to the irmiklat. We're speaking that it's let's say he did it on purpose, but there was no no legal. We had no legal recourse to put him on trial. We have no hasra. They didn't warn him properly. Whatever. It was some sort of legal legal issue which prevented us from applying misa. So perhaps he has to play kaifer. He should compensate the family. The adam chayiv b'kaifer based on a kal v'chaymer from an animal. Oma shur she'ein chayiv b'avad dvarim. Even a shur who doesn't have the din of abar dvarim, which are those additional payments, embarrassment, loss of wages, pain. When a shur harms a person, he pays actual damages, loss of value. That's it. The extra 4 things, tsar, ripui, doctor bill, sheves, boishes, he doesn't pay. Still, chayiv b'kaifer, he pays kaifer. If a shur kills a person, the owner has to pay compensation. Certainly, a person, adam, shechayiv b'advarim, when he hurts another person, he has to pay all those extra payments. Ein adin, of course, shechayiv b'kaifer should pay kaifer as well. Amakra, we have a pasuk which exempts him. Kechayla sheyushas olav. This is the kaifer penalty applied to a situation where a shur kills a person, olav, on account of the shur killing. So the olav is a specific term. Olav aloi al adam. It's specific to an animal killing a person. Kaifer does not apply to adam killing a person. Next question. We're so assuming that a shur never has abad dvarim. Who says? Maybe he does. The owner has to pay the tsar, the ripui, the sheves, the boishes, even if his animal inflicted damage on another person, based on a kal v'chaymer. Uma adam she'ein chayiv b'kaifer. We've just established as a fact that a person has no kaifer payments. Right? So a person is not chayiv in kaifer. Still, he's chayiv b'abad dvarim. Of course, a shur shechayiv b'kaifer, which triggers kaifer, and then of course shechayiv b'abad dvarim. Amakra no ishba mitay. So the pasuk in discussing the halachas of the imum and the abad dvarim, all those payments, it says ishba mitay. When a person hits his friend, below ishar b'mitay doesn't apply to an animal who strikes out at his owner's friend. Okay, so we've established that Arba Dvarim is specific to an Adam Hamazik, and Kaifer to a Shoir. Iboilu becomes a new question on the topic of Kaifer. So the pasuk, when discussing Kaifer, is speaking about an animal who gores, through Keren. What about if an animal used his regel, he's just walking nonchalantly and Loyalenu steps over a toddler and kills him? Is there a Kaifer payment or not? Iboilu. Regel sherdor sal gabetinoik b'chatzor hanizik ma'u. Shedishalom Kaifer. An animal's walking along in a chatzor hanizik and tramples a tinoik, a toddler. Question: is there a Kaifer payment or not? Why? Why yes? Or why not? Mi amrina, shall we say? Mi did hava Keren. Just like if he kills with his Keren. Keren kivin the avad trei et losa zimni urchehu. Umashalom Kaifer. If he uses his horns once, twice, 3 times to kill, it becomes habitualized. He pays Kaifer. Hachinam elishna here as well. Regel is naturally a muad, right? It's just a natural liability. So why shouldn't he have Kaifer? It's just another form of a muad. That's one side of the coin. Or perhaps you can say Keren kavanose lahazak. There's a big difference between Keren and Regel. Keren is intentionally being aggressive and harming. Hi, but he's just walking along the road. Regel ain't kavanose lahazak, so perhaps there's no Kaifer in that case. Tashma. We're going to try to prove this halacha from a Bryce. Bryce is like this. Hichnis shoyroi lachotzer ba'albayis le'brishus. So Reuben brings his animal into Shimon's backyard without permission. And Reuben's ox kills the balabais. Hashar b'skila, the shor is put to death because he killed a person. Ba'alav. What about the owner of that ox? Bein tam, bein muad, mishalom kaifer shalim. Whether the animal is doing it for the first time or the 10th time, he pays full compensation. So full kaifer. Divrei Rabbi Tarf. End of story. Question: why would he pay full kaifer? A tam always pays only 50%. Whether he damaged, he pays 50% damages. If he kills, we assume he pays 50% kaifer. He always gets that discount. So why is he going up to 100%? Oh, because it happened in the chatzor hanizak. It happened in, the victim's property. So that's the question. Kaifer shalim betam. Rabbi Tarf menoli. How did Rabbi Tarf get to full kaifer if he's just a tam? Oh, the answer must be like this: Lav mishum desavar l'karei. So firstly, you have to know that he follows Rabbi Seglili, who holds that a tam pays kaifer, period. That's a big controversy. Chacham hold that a tam never pays kaifer. But according to Rabbi Seglili, there is kaifer payment even by tam. The Amar tam mishalom chatzi kaifer b'shisarab. So if this would have taken place in the street, right, the Keren would have killed somebody as a tam, chatzi kaifer. But since it happened in the victim's territory, it goes up to 100%. And Rabbi Tarfon will now take it up a notch to Nezek Shalim, based on Al Chavachaymer from Regel. So Rashi explains, just like in our Mishnah, Rabbi Tarfon upped the ante. So if Regel damages, not kills, damages property in the Rishus HaNizak, you go up to 100%. It's based on Al Chavachaymer. Same thing happens to Kaifer. Rashi explains like this. The Kabbalah will start like this. Shein v'regel, a totally putter in Rosh Hashanah. Still, in Rosh Hashanah, they would pay kaifer shalim. So if he killed through the regel, he pay 100% kaifer. So that's the basis for this halacha now. Apparently, Rabbi Tarfon holds that regel in Rosh Hashanah pays kaifer shalim. So if in Rosh Hashanah it's potter, and Rosh Hashanah you pay kaifer shalim, certainly the Keren, which in Rosh Hashanah, if you kill somebody through Keren, you pay chatzi kaifer, like Rabbi Seglili, we just established. Of course, if that Keren kills somebody in Rosh Hashanah, you pay kaifer shalim, just like you pay nezek shalim by property damage. You pay kaifer shalim if there was a killing. So, if that's the case, again, we're trying to figure out how Rabbi Tarfon knew that Keren Tama in in Rishus HaNizak pays Kaifer Shalom. This is the answer. The Kal V'chomer. Now the Kal V'chomer is based on a premise. Which premise? What was the starting point of the Kal V'chomer? Sheinu Regel in the street is Potter. Still, in Rishus HaNizak pays Kaifer Shalom. Certainly can. Almost says the Gemara. Ika Kaifer B'Regel. Clearly, Regel pays Kaifer. Otherwise, this whole Kal V'chomer would not work. So we've concluded, we've solved our Shaila. Omar of Sirim Ra'adah. No, who says Tana min Izak and the Regel Ma'isila? Who says that this Kal V'chomer is based on Regel paying Kaifer? Who says there's Kaifer by Regel? No. Skip Kaifer by Regel. Kaifer is only by Keren, as per the Psukim. Reb Tarfon's halacha here that Keren pays Kaifer Shalom if it occurred in Rishus HaNizak is based on a slightly different Kal V'chomer, which doesn't mention anything about Kaifer by Regel. It goes like this: Regel in Rishus Rab is potter from nizakin, from damages. Still, Regel in Rishus HaNizak pays nezek Shalom for property damage. Forget about Kaifer, property damage. Certainly, Keren, which in Rishus Rab pays Chatzi Kaifer. Of course, in Rishus HaNizak pays Kaifer Shalom. So it's based on Regel being mazik. The Kal V'chomer is based on Regel being mazik, not on Regel paying Kaifer. There's no Kaifer by Regel. Tanam and Nizakan the Regel Ma'isila. Well, that's not going to work. This type of Kal V'chomer is a shaky Kal V'chomer because you can refute it. You're basing this halacha on the fact that Regel HaMazik in Rishus HaNizak pays Nezek Shalom. Well, you can't compare the Kaifer payment to Nizakin. Mal and Nizakin, the Regel. Yeah, Regel that's Mazik has an advantage. Shkein Yeshna Be'esh. The concept of paying for property damage applies to even fire. Fire burns, you pay. As opposed to Kaifer, which is trying to learn from it. Kaifer is not a system applied to Eish, to fire. If fire kills a person, there's no Kaifer. So you can't compare one to the other. Well, I could, mitamen. I'll base the Kal V'chomer on the fact that Regel is chayiv nezek shalom if he caused property damage in the chatzar nizuk on an item which is concealed in a sack called taman, and you can't come back and say, well, there's an advantage to property damage over kaifer because it applies to fire as well. Fire damage, no. Fire is potter by taman. So you can't have that argument. Well, says the Gemara, Taman, true, but even something concealed still has one advantage over Kaifer, Shken Yeshnei Bebar. If a sack full of kalim falls into a bar, if a kalim is not chayim bar, if an animal wrapped in a sack falls into a bar, you pay for it, even though it's Taman. So property damage has an advantage over kaifer because there's no kaifer by a bird who kills. So basically, we're sort of trying to drive a wedge between kaifer and property damage. Paying for property damage. They have advantages. They apply to fire. They apply to even taman applies to a bar, as opposed to kaifer doesn't apply to a bar. Well, mikalim, who based it on property damage that occurred to kalim. Now kalim on a chayiv if they were damaged in a bar, so it doesn't have any advantage over kaifer. Well, mala kalim sheyeshna be'esh, but if fire damages kalim, you pay, but kaifer doesn't apply to fire. Well, mikalim tmunim. Let's combine the two. Imagine you damaged kalim, right? So, regel was mazik kalim, which were tumunim, both together. Kalim concealed. Fire doesn't apply. Bird doesn't apply. So now it can serve as a firm basis for our Kal V'chomer. So if there's chiyuv nezek shalom for that, in Rishus HaNizak, certainly kaifer will have the same halacha. Well, 1 second. Malu kalim tmunim, even these concealed kalim You have an advantage over kaifer sheyeshnan ba'adam. If a person damages these things, then he pays. As opposed to kaifer, a person doesn't pay kaifer. So once again, kaifer is at a disadvantage. Oh, so we got to go back to that earlier suggestion. Apparently, Rabbi Tarfon's halacha that Keren pays kaifer sholem irshus hanizak is based on a kal v'chomer, which is working with the assumption that regel will pay kaifer sholem irshus hanizak as well, and that will serve as basis for kal v'chomer. Alma, this proves our point that ika kaifer b'regel shmamino, that the kaifer concept applies to regel as well, and we resolved our issue. I'll give you another reason to believe so. I'll prove that regel will also be liable to kaifer payments. Because if it's not so, if regel does not pay kaifer, Vitana, and the Tana meaning Rabbi Tarfon, who is out to prove that Keren pays kaifer shalom in Rishus HaNizak, based on al-Kal V'Chomer, Vitana min nizak in the regel ma'asila, and it was based on that other alternative Kal V'Chomer, which was based on a regel hamazik, not on regel of kaifer, because there's no regel of kaifer. If we'll assume so, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for another reason. We had many reasons. Here comes another reason. Vitana min nizak in the regel ma'asila, livrich, we can challenge it as follows. What was the Kal V'Chomer? What was the other suggestion? That it was based on the following Kal V'Chomer. Shein regel is potter for damages in the street, still is chayav for damaging Rishus HaNizak Nezak Shalom. Certainly, Keren, which pays Chatzi Kaifer in the street, will pay Nezak Kaifer Shalom in Rishus HaNizak. Well, big difference between a regel hamazik and Kaifer. Marla Nizak in the regel, Shekain Yeshna Beregel. A regel which is mazik, which inflicts, property damage, has an advantage over the concept of kaifer, because listen to this: the concept of a regel being liable for damages applies to regel. If regel does it, he pays it, as opposed to kaifer, which is inapplicable to regel. So it's within the actual formula. We're sort of using circular logic here to undo this whole Kal V'Chomer. You can't base a halacha of kaifer on an halacha of nizakin of regel. Nizakin of regel has an advantage over kaifer, because unless you prove that regel has kaifer, we'll assume it doesn't. And if so, nizakin of regel have an advantage over kaifer, because nizakin of regel apply to regel. If regel is mazik, you pay, as opposed to kaifer, which does not. So apparently this Kal V'Chomer won't work. Rather, mikaifer the regel ma'asila. The Kal V'Chomer was based on the premise that regel pays kaifer, and thereby we can now generate this Kal V'Chomer that if shein regel, which is pot in the street, pays kaifer shalom in Rishus HaNizak, certainly Karen, which pays chatzi kaifer in the street, will pay kaifer shalom in Rishus HaNizak el lashmana mikaifer the regel ma'asila. Alma, so clearly we see ika kaifer b'regel shmamina. Continues the mission. Adam muad lo'ila. A person is fully responsible in all situations for his actions, whether he damaged willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly, bein shoygeg, whether it was unintentional, bein mazed intentional, bein air, whether he was awake, bein yashno or asleep. And Taisus, by the way, and the Abdallah points out that I'm only chayiv if I lay down next to something there. Right? And then I rolled over and I broke it. But if I lie down and somebody puts something next to me while I'm asleep, of course I'm not chayiv. Okay, examples of shoygeg. Simius ein chaveru. He blinded his friend's eye by mistake. Or v'shiber sakelim, he broke his kelim, mishalem, nezek shalom. Says the Gemara, katoni. Simas ein chaveru, edumu d'shiber sakelim. So the Mishnah cites two examples of a person responsible for damages b'shoygeg. Blinding an eye or breaking a kli. So we compare the two. Apparently the chiyuv in both cases are similar. Ma'asam nezek in arba dvarim loy. Just like when he breaks a kli, you only pay actual damages. There's no embarrassment, doctor bills, and all that, right? Av simes and chaver, likewise, if it was mesame, his friend's eye, since it was b'shoygeg, nezek in, you pay loss of value, damages, but not the other payments. Arba dvarim loy, you don't pay the 4 payments, and Rashi explains 4 lines from the bottom. Nezek in abod dvarim loy deloy mechayv abod dvarim ella. The only time you pay those things is either if it was done intentional or close to intentional. Ella oy mezid oy karvel mezid dum yodach yiriven anashim, where the psukim are discussed. The hasam ksiv ripoy v'shavas. Okay, so b'shoigig you pay, but only a limited payment, actual damages. Now comes the big question: how do we know that a person is totally responsible, even b'shoigig? How do we pay? How do you know you pay nezik when it was unintentional? Likewise, in the Beis Medrash of Chizkiah, the Tana taught the same thing based on a pasuk. Petza tachas patza, which Rashi says is an extra pasuk, because the pasuk there in describing, a person inflicting damage and paying for it, already says pay for what you did. Why, repeat it? Petza tachas patza, blow for a blow, injury for an injury. We don't do it literally, right? So it's a matter of compensation and payment. Why the repetition? To teach us this point. You pay by shegi just like if it would be mezid, oines just like it would be ratzon. There you go. Says the Gemara, well, the pasuk is needed for something else. The pasuk perhaps is teaching us that even if he actually pays nezek, damages, loss of value, loss of market value of that victim, you still have to pay a tsar. And Rashi points out, even though we know you paid tsar, but perhaps tsar is only when there was no actual physical damage caused. Let's say he pained his friend. He caused him damage without actually injuring him. Right? He burnt him on his nail, let's say. So we know you paid tsar. But who says in a case where he actually damaged him and harmed him and lost, he lost value, you have to pay that nezek? Who says you have to add tsar as well? So perhaps, that's what the pasuk is for. Not perhaps, that's what the Gemara knew, that's what the pasuk is for. So it's unavailable for our drash of shaygig. In Kain, if it was only for one reason, for one drash, one Allah lichtav kra, the pasuk would just say, in short form, petza b'petza. My tachas petza, why the extra word? Shvam notarti allows us to learn both halachas. Number one, that tsar is always an add-on, and number two, you pay nezek even b'shaygig. Continues the Gemara. So on the topic of shaygig, there are many different levels of shaygig, and the Gemara will now spell out all different types of applications, meaning different various halachas, various contexts, and figure out how do we deal with various levels of shaygig in each context. Here we go. Amar Rabba. We have a fellow sitting, and unbeknownst to him, there is a rock sitting on his lap. Amar Rabba. So we have a fellow with a stone on his lap. He has no clue it's there. He gets up, boom, the rock flies off and causes damage. So is he responsible? He never knew about it. He suddenly is hit by a shock. His rock goes flying and it causes damage. Either it damages, it kills a person, it lands on a car pedal and gets the car going, it does a malacha on Shabbos, all types of situations. Let's see what happens. So with respect to damages, personal damages, linyan nizaken. Okay, so it hurts a person and now he's sent to bed, he has doctor bills, etc. Linyan nizaken, chayiv. So he has to pay the actual damage, right? Any sort of damages, broke a window, nezek you pay, as we just said. A person's chayiv even b'shoigig, right? But l'inyan abod dvarim potter, but those extra payments, tzar, ripuy, sheves, boishes, we learned before. We had this in Rashi, right? That's only to specific to mezid or korev l'mezid, which this fellow certainly does not qualify for. So he's potter on those. L'inyan Shabbos, likewise, if it caused a malacha on Shabbos, he's also potter. He's not even chayv v'chatos. Why? Melechas machsheves asra Torah. We learned that a person's only chayv by Shabbos if he intended on doing the malacha. When we speak about a malacha on Shabbos b'shoigig, shoigig just means he knows what he's doing. He just doesn't know one of two things: either that this is asur on Shabbos, or two, that it's Shabbos. But he has to know what he's doing. He has to have machshava, intention, to actually press that pedal of that car, as opposed to this rock flying off him and causing that malacha. So he's potter. Then in Golas potter, likewise, if he kills a person b'shoigig, he's potter. And Rashi brings because the pasuk by Golus says Make Nevesh Bishigoga. This is not a shogig, this is less than a shogig. Shogig means he was aware at a certain point, and he forgot. This fellow was never aware of the presence of that stone, so he's patur. Linin Evet, let's say the stone plopped on his Evet Kanani and knocked out his tooth or his eye, and we know that when an owner does that, the Evet goes free. But here it was unintentional. So what happens? The Sanya, we have a machlokes, whether it has to be intentional or not. So this Evet had an owner, a master who happens to be a doctor, either a dentist or an eye doctor, right? But the Evet turns to his master, so innocently, and says, could you tend to my eye, put some eye paint, fix it up with Sima? The owner, intending to the Evet's eye, mistakenly blinds it. Or, in the case of a dentist, he says, I got a cavity, can you please take my cavity out? The pila, and by mistake he goes and knocks out the tooth. So the Evet now sort of played on his master, and he got his get out of jail free card. He goes free, even though it was done unintentionally. That is the chacham. But Rabbi Shimon, the pasuk in describing this episode uses the word v'shichasa, which is the lashon of destruction, hashchasa. Achi skavan l'shachsa. It has to be with that in mind to actually knock out the tooth of the eye. In this case, he is patur. The Evet, stays Evet. So that was the first set of cases, which is describing a fellow who mistakenly, flung his stone off his lap without realizing it. We know no clue that he had the stone. So we itemize all the halachas regarding Nizakan, Abor Dvarim, Shabbos, Golas, and Evet. Here comes the next case, very similar, but here he knew about the stone at a certain point in time, then he forgot, and he got up and it flung. Here, but he knew about it, V'shachi, totally forgot. V'amad v'nafli, gets up and there it goes. So does that change anything? Let's see. Linin Nizakan Chayiv. Once again, for damage you pay like before. Linin Dalat Dvarim Pater. The 4 payments he's pater because again, this is not mezid or karav lemezid. But in this case, Linin Golos Chayiv kills a person b'shogeg, he pay. He goes l'golos. Why? Damakra, the pasuk in describing the fellow who killed b'shogeg says b'shgaga. B'shgaga means machlal davli yediyah. He knew at some point, and this fellow qualifies b'havi yediyah. So he goes to golos. In Shabbos, when it comes to malach on Shabbos, he's still pater because it's not called malachas machshavos. And once again, regarding the Evet, Linin Evet, it's the same machlokes as before, intention or no intention. Plukta the Rabban Shimon Rabban. Next case, this Gavan Lizruk Shtayim Bezeruk Arba. Okay, this fellow is now actually holding the stone and he's tossing it, thinking that it's going to go, 2 amos. It ends up flying 4 amos, which is a shear, a malacha of Haitzah on Shabbos, right? So a person throws a stone 4 amos in the street, he has to bring a chatos on Shabbos. So he really didn't plan on doing 4. He planned on throwing it 2 feet. And it went 4 amos. So what happens now? So if it pertains to damages, if it flew further than expected and broke a window, Linin Nizakan, you pay, Chayiv, because the Shogeg pays. Linin Dalat Dvarim Pater, because there was no intention. Linin Shabbos, right? Regarding the halacha of Shabbos, Melechas Machshavas B'inan. There is no Chiyav Chatos, because again, he had no intention to do a malacha of 4 amos. Linin Golos, but when it comes to Golos, he goes to Golos because it qualifies. Ashaloi Tzadam Rachmana. The pasuk describing a person who kills willingly, who does not go to the Ir Miklad. So, you talk about a person who did it willingly, and it says Ashaloi Tzadam. But a person who did not, plot and aim against this person trying to kill him. So if he didn't do that, which basically means he killed him by mistake, right? Then he goes to Golos. Ashaloi tzadam rachmana. That's the lashon of the pasuk. Prat l'maskaven l'zok shtayim b'zarok daled. Perfect. This is the perfect case of Ashaloi tzadam. He was aiming here and ended up there. So he's trying to do what he was doing. He's trying to throw a stone, but he was aiming it close by, not realizing that it's going to travel an extra couple of feet and hit the person. So this qualifies for Golos. And regarding Linin Evet, regarding the Evet going free, once again, it's the same achloikas, because ultimately he didn't have kavana to destroy the eye or the tooth. Plukta, and in the final case, we have Neskav Lizrik Ar Bavazarok Shmoina. He intended on throwing the stone or the ball or whatever 4 amos, which is a shear of Malach on Shabbos. It ended up going way further and broke a window, etc. Lina Nizakan, if it caused damage, unintended damage, chayiv. Lina Dalad Varim, once again, he's potter. Lina Shabbos, well, it depends. If he actually, expressed his interest in having this thing land, wherever he says, you know what, I'm actually throwing it, but I'll never know where it could land, wherever. I don't care. So in that case, he's fully responsible. So basically, he's responsible for the full outcome, and it's called Melechas Machshavas. It's his doing, and he has to bring a chatas. If he didn't have this announcement, he didn't have this in mind, he wanted only a 4 amma throw, but it ended up being 8 ammas. So the outcome was not programmed, was not intended, and therefore it's not called Melechas Machshavas. It does not bring a chatos. Linin Golus, regarding killing a person b'shogeg, and Golus, of course he does. Ashaloi tzada. He didn't aim it in this direction, but he still tried to throw the thing. That's called killing b'shogeg, and you go to Golus. Pratlin eskaven lizrak arba v'zarak shmoina. So Ashaloi tzada means that he didn't do it b'mezid, right? As opposed to this case, where he didn't do it b'mezid, he did it. He was trying to throw 4 amas and ended up landing 8 amas away. So that's called loy tzad. It wasn't aimed. It wasn't a purpose. He didn't kill him purposely. It wasn't an intentional kill. So that goes to Golas. And finally, in an Evid, regarding the Evid going free, it's the same machlekes as before Plukta. Okay, so we have 4 cases. One is the fellow who had no idea he had a stone sitting on him. One is the case he knew about it, he forgot. Case where he wanted to throw 2 amas, he ended up throwing 4. Or 4 and ended up throwing 8. Ve'amar Rabba, Zora Klim Rosh Hagag. A fellow who has a plate, throws it off the roof. Ubo Achar v'shaver b'makel. Shimon walks over and knocks the thing out midway, en route. Breaks it into smithereens. He's potter. Why? My timer. Mana tvira. It was already a broken kli. It was slated for smashing. Right? It was slated to crash in a second. Tamar. So he just broke something which was already sort of broken. Okay, so he's not chayiv. V'amar, here's another halacha. Zora kli rosh hagag. So Reuven tosses, Shimon's kli off the roof. Voyu tachtav kar miksasos. And he's throwing it right on top of a mattress. Okay, so you have, mattresses, pillows. It was going to make a soft, safe landing. Bo acher v'silkan. Comes another fellow, smart fellow, wise guy, he pulls away those mattresses while the thing is already in midair. Or the person himself, the person who threw it over those mattresses, run down and pulls out the mattresses. Potter. So now the thing smashes down. He's potter. You know why? My timer. Because, when he threw that thing off the roof, was it going to break? At that moment, did it have potential to break? No. Psuki mipsaki gire. It's like an expression. His arrows have been terminated. Basically, his maisa had no potential to wreak havoc, to bring about this result, because it was going to land on those mattresses. So he's not accountable for his maisa of throwing it off the roof. That was fine. Okay, so that's out. Now you want to come back to him and say, well, who asked you to pull out the mattress? Okay, fine. But I didn't do an actual, direct. I didn't have direct contact with the kli that broke. I removed a protector. I removed that cushion. Says Rashi, that's called Gurama bin Azakan. I was good. Indirectly, I brought about damage. I'm not chayiv, at least not in Oil Mazeh. So therefore he's pot. V'amarab, here comes another halacha. Zorak tinik rosh hagag. Person throws a tinik off the roof. Uba achar v'kilu b'sayif. And a fellow standing below, and he reaches out with his sword and he kills the child comes into the sword and he kills him. So is he chayiv? Plukta. So the child was going to die regardless, right? By way of that first person's actions. Just that the second person sort of expedited the process, right? Plukta. There will be sever abon Rav Machlekes Tamaim. Desanya. Hiku asor bnei adam asor maklos. So 10 people strike this person with 10 clubs. Bein bivas achas. Bein b'zeh whether all at once or one after the other. Kulam turn. They're all pater. Rashi brings a pasuk. Sanhedrin talks about the pasuk kol nefesh adam. It has to be a full killing. Kol nefesh. So if each person only did part of the murder, they're pater. Patur. if it was done one after the other. So the last fellow who actually, gave the last blow and expedited his death, he's chayev. Because he brought about, that premature death. So even though he didn't fully kill him, he was already, at 90%, but he hurried it up and he's chayev. So likewise, in our case, the person who's makabel the tinuk with the saif, according to Rabbanan, is potter because he's only responsible, partially, because mainly the person throwing him off the roof is chayev, because he was going to bring about his death. But the guy on the bottom expedited the process, so according to Rabbanan, that's only a partial murder, he's potter. Whereas according to Rabbi Ben Seira, Kirav Misasai is reason enough to hold him fully responsible. Okay, so what did we learn today? We start off with a premise that Keren is chayev Nishus Rabim, and chayev Chatzin Nezik Nishus Nizik, Shein V'regel is Pater Nishus Rabim, chayev Nishus Nizik, and we challenge these halachas based on some Kal V'chomers, and ultimately we have the Psukim, which reestablish those halachas. We discussed when Kaifer applies, when Arba Dvarim apply. We concluded that Regel in Nishus Nizik plays Kaifer as well. We discussed the chiyuvim of an Adam mod lo'ilam in all circumstances. We have the psukim for that, and then we discussed various cases of shogeg, and the applications regarding various halachas, whether it's Shabbos, whether it's Golos, whether it's the Eved, whether it's Nizakan or Arba Dvarim, and we discussed some cases at the end with the Zarak Lim Reish Hagag and Zarak Tinag Reish Hagag. All the best to you, B'suros Toivos and Hatzlacha Rabbah.